Hello, and welcome to Healthy California podcast. My name is Linda Brown, and I am the host of Healthy California, where my goal is to help educate you on your daily choices so we all can become healthy. I believe you, your family, your neighbor, and your community are all looking for better ways and simple ways to return to being healthy. Many of you have health issues or have family that's going through tough times that seemingly have no answers. It's frustrating. There are questions about health, environment, foods, exercise, and lifestyle, and it can be all overwhelming. And who do you believe? And where's the science behind it? This podcast will unravel the mystery behind being unhealthy and talk about little things that we can do in our lives to make a positive change in our health from all angles. So to be healthy, we need to have physical health, mental health, environmental health, financial and social health, and of course, spiritual health. Let's answer some of these questions to get healthy. What good is just listening to a podcast? I will give you resources as well, ways to take steps and make positive changes in your life to becoming healthy. This is a journey, not an assignment, so be kind to yourself. Welcome back, California. Thank you for joining me today. Today I am talking about another kind of a heavy subject. I'm talking about cancer. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because cancer is becoming more and more prevalent, and everyone knows someone who has it. If you don't have it yourself, then you know a family member or a neighbor, and it's becoming more prevalent. So I want to go over what cancer is and what we can do about it. Okay, so what is cancer? Cancer is uncontrolled cell growth. This happens when part of the gene that normally tells the cell to stop dividing, when that gene doesn't work. So the gene that would normally tell a cell to stop dividing, that code isn't being interpreted, so then the cell just keeps dividing, and this leads to a tumor. Not all tumors are cancerous, but a tumor can spread into the nearby tissue, and if it enters the bloodstream and metastasize just means it goes into other parts of the body. If a cancer cell metastasizes into other parts of the body, then that becomes cancerous. And a cancerous cell can enter the bloodstream or the lymphatic system, and those are circulatory systems, so they spread all throughout the body. So that's why one cancer cell can travel throughout the body, because it travels through our blood system or our lymph system. So a tumor is just a growth. It's not necessarily cancerous, and so some doctors will remove it if it starts to encroach into nearby tissue. Sometimes, as a tumor gets bigger, it can cause pain, or it can cause, if it's encroaching on other parts of the body, it can stop circulation. Just imagine, something in your body that's growing that's not supposed to be there. It's going to cause problems. And sometimes doctors will just leave it there and watch it, and the body will reabsorb it, or if it starts to become problematic, they'll remove it. And that's a benign tumor. That's a tumor that's not cancerous. If you have a cancer cell that does go to other parts of the body and starts to spread that cancer throughout the body, the cancer will be named by where the cancer started. So if the cancer started in your brain, it will be called brain cancer, even though the cancer may be detected in multiple parts of the body. So that's how they name it. Why is this important? Why does it matter that you know this? If you don't have cancer, why does it matter? If you don't have a family history, then why does it matter? It matters because it's important to stay healthy. Healthy decreases your risk of cancer, especially if you have family history. If you have family history of cancer, does not mean that you will get cancer. And if you don't have a family history of cancer, doesn't mean you won't get cancer. So there's never 100% foolproof. So we might as well do what we can to keep ourselves healthy and decrease that chance of getting cancer, because it is becoming so prevalent in the world today. There's three main factors to cancer. One is genetics. Having a genetic or a family history is a factor. The environment is a factor. And then what you're going to do with that information is a factor. So you can have genetics. What you decide to do with it, you might just decide to ignore it. Or you could be exposed to an environment that is carcinogenic or cancer causing. And so what are you going to do with that information? You can choose to ignore it. And so the three main factors, again, genetics, environment, and what you decide to do with that information. So hopefully you'll decide to do something with that information. What are the causes of cancer? So again, cancer is uncontrolled cell growth. So that means we have to control that cell growth, right? To the best of our ability, and we have to do it preventatively. Because once cells start dividing over and over, we don't know that's happening until years and years later when it is a problem. But cancer does not happen overnight. You don't just all of a sudden wake up with cancer. So if it's not going to happen overnight, then we can start to do something about it right now. I mentioned that the DNA can't stop dividing. There is a mutation in the DNA that doesn't know when to stop. That stop code is not being recognized. It's not working, or it's not being recognized. So that stop code, it stops dividing, that's a mutation in the gene. So there's a lot of reasons why that gene would be mutated. Again, it might be mutated because of family history, or it could be environmental. And then what are we going to do about it, right? So how does it get mutated? Many reasons. Cellular damage, I'm going to get a little bit deep right here. Cellular damages causes epigenetic changes. So there is genetics and there is epigenetics. So genetics means it's in our family history. It's in our genes. But just because we have something in our genes doesn't necessarily mean that that gene will be expressed, that gene expression. For instance, I have a family history on both sides of my family of diabetes, so I could possibly have that gene. I am making lifestyle choices to make sure that gene doesn't get expressed. So I'm not going to get diabetes. I'm doing everything I can to make sure I don't get diabetes. So that is an epigenetic change, which means that I have some control over what my genes are going to express or not express. Let me read this to you again. Mutation can happen from cellular damage causing epigenetic changes. So that cellular damage causing the changes. The cellular damage causing, so how is that cell being damaged? Well, let's find out. I said earlier that genetics, environment, and what you're going to do with it. So environment. In our environment, we have toxins, we have pesticides, we have xenoestrogens from plastics, fragrances, pollution, sun exposure. Everything is in the world. It just seems like everything's trying to kill us. What are we going to do with those toxins? What are we going to do with our environment? Some things we can control, some things we can't control. If you know that there are toxins in your environment, you can do something about that. And if you have been exposed, you can do something about that too. It's not too late to had lead exposure. You can still go through a detox and get rid of that lead. It's not like a death wish. Inflammation in the body is also very detrimental to your body. It decreases your body's ability to heal itself. Lack of exercise causes inflammation. So it's not just that exercise is good for you, but lack of exercise is bad for you. So let me say that again. I want that to sink in. It's not that exercise is good for you, because of course it is, but lack of exercise is bad for you. So I don't want you to think just because I'm not exercising, I'm just going to maintain my health. It's actually detrimental that you're not exercising. So lack of exercise increases inflammation in the body. And if you want more information on inflammation, you can go back to my, I think, podcast number 5 that I explain it in depth. But inflammation in the body is bad. Increased BMI, body mass index, an increased BMI also causes inflammation. So that's why they're always, in your health questionnaires and your life insurance questionnaires, they want to know what your height and your weight is, because they're trying to figure out what your BMI is. With an increased BMI, you have a higher likeliness of disease. People that are trying to get life insurance and they get denied because their weight is too much, it's because of this BMI scale that they're talking about. Insurance knows that. Increased BMI causes inflammation or increased BMI causes inflammation, which then leads to chronic disease. And then lifestyle contributes to your increased risk of cancer. So lifestyle like alcohol consumption, smoking, maybe lack of sleep could be a lifestyle. Whatever is causing stress to your body would cause inflammation. So lifestyle is a huge contributor to increased risk of cancer. I want to take a second to share a helpful resource with you. I have a free health questionnaire designed to pinpoint the areas in your life that you need to focus on for optimal wellness. If you're interested, simply click the link in the show notes or visit heal-throughfood.com to access it. Now let's dive back into the show. And then more importantly is not giving your body what it needs to repair itself. So what does your body need to repair itself? It needs good nutrition, it needs good vitamins, minerals, it needs sleep, it needs air, it needs good hydration. It needs a lot of things just to be in the state of repairing itself. What is causing all this stuff? Well, there is free radicals that are all throughout our body. Free radical is an electron that has popped off an atom. In our cells, we have these atoms. Atoms are what kind of make up that periodic table in chemistry. And an atom has electrons orbiting around it. And those electrons come on and off, on and off, on and off. The electrons coming on and off is what creates the electrical system in our body. And without that electrical system, we don't have any energy. We can't create energy. We can't do anything. We need energy, and that is from those electrons popping on and off, on and off, on and off. Creates an electrical circuit. That's why they're called electrons. If that is happening in our body, then why is that bad? Well, an electron that pops off an atom goes to another atom or molecule that it's attracted to. But if we have too many atoms popping off and not enough molecules for it to go to accept that atom, then those electrons are just floating around in our body, and that's what a free radical is. It's this electron that's kind of just causing destruction throughout our body. And that electron, if it makes it through our DNA, it's going to cause destruction to our DNA. If that electron is floating around through our body causing destruction, then it has a high likeliness of causing destruction in our DNA, right? And our DNA is what is creating everything in our body, and it could be damaged by this free radical. So when there are too many free radicals and not enough antioxidants to neutralize it, then these free radicals cause oxidative stress. Oxidative stress causes destruction, resulting in aging, all chronic diseases like heart disease and cancer. So oxidative stress is caused by these free radicals. Now, remember what I just said, when there are too many free radicals and not enough antioxidants, then those free radicals cause oxidative stress. What is an antioxidant? Antioxidant is what we eat. If we eat healthy foods, we're eating antioxidants. Our vitamins, has all our vitamins in there. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, vitamin D. Everything that we need as far as an antioxidant comes from our food. We aren't eating healthy food, then these free radicals are building up in our body, causing oxidative stress, which causes aging, causes all sorts of chronic conditions, including cancer. We need to kind of control the free radicals and the amount of antioxidants that are going to accept that free radical. How does this affect you? Obviously, many ways. Whether you have a family history or not, this is still going to be very important for you to know. In the world, I'm just going to go over the top 5 cancers. There's many, many cancers, but the top 5 in the world is breast cancer, lung cancer, colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, and stomach cancer. That's the top 5 in the world. The top 5 in the U.S. is breast cancer for women, prostate cancer for men, lung cancer, colorectal cancer, and skin cancer. Now, it's interesting to me that skin cancer is more prevalent in the U.S. than anywhere else in the world. And we are the most sunscreened country in the world. I mean, we are hypervigilant about our sunscreen. So if we are all protected by sunscreen, then why do we have so much cancer still? It's something to think about. Is it more important to have sun, or is it more important to have toxins slather all over your skin over and over and over a day, multiple times a day for protection? It's a good question. And I'm not going to answer that question for you because it's different for each person. If you have a family history of skin cancer, then by all means you should be protecting your skin, especially if you have fair skin. If you have more of a pigmented skin, you are a little bit more protected. But again, there's, if you're near water, if you're always in the sun at the wrong time of day, the amounts of sun can also affect you. However, you're a little bit more protected if you have pigmented skin, but if you have pigmented skin, then you're also not going to have as much vitamin D. So that's just something to think about. Let's go through these one at a time. So what are we going to do about it? So we know, I'm just going to go over the top 5 in the U.S., breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, colorectal cancer, and skin cancer. The research shows that if you don't smoke, if you have a BMI less than 30, you exercise 3.5 hours a week, and you have a plant-based diet, that will reduce your risk by 36%. That's pretty big. A lot of times research will be like, yeah, this is great for you. It will decrease risk by 5%. No, this is 36%. That's pretty big. So no smoking, BMI less than 30, exercising 3.5 hours a week, healthy plant-based diet, and will reduce your risk by 36%. Proverbs 3, 7, and 8 say, do not be wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. And the reason why I wanted to mention that is because when it says do not be wise in your own eyes, fear the Lord and shun evil, that pretty much is just saying you might think you know best, but turn away from the things that are tempting you. And this will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. It's easy to say, but I really want this. My body's craving this. I need it. You can give in every now and then, but it's really not good for your health. So I just want you to think about that for a second. I read the research to you. Low BMI, no smoking, exercise, plant-based diet reduces by 36%. If you have a family history, you can also get yourself tested for the BRCA gene, and you can do this not just for breast cancer, for prostate cancer too. If you have a family history, you can get tested for that. So there are cancer-specific phone apps that can help you with nutrition and exercise focused on cancer. And also, there is research, plenty of research showing that sugar increases the risk for cancer and growth. So people that have cancer shouldn't be eating sugar, but if you don't have cancer, eating sugar can increase that risk because it's about the inflammation. And if you do have cancer, the sugar has been shown to increase the growth of a tumor. And again, because it's inflammatory. And there's also increasing research showing that protein is beneficial. Earlier I read that a plant-based diet is beneficial for cancer. Yes. Increased protein is also beneficial. Maybe not red meat, because there's plenty of research showing that red meat is not good for cancer. But to increase protein, animal protein, you can eat turkey, you can eat fish, definitely can eat fish and chicken, and make sure that it is all antibiotic free, hormone free, naturally sourced fish, not farmed. Let's go through each of these cancers. I'm going to start off with breast cancer because that seems to be growing pretty fast in the U.S. And all this that I'm going to mention about breast cancer applies to all cancers, for the most part, all cancers, with just a few differences. So I want you to listen to this, even though if you're not worried about breast cancer, but maybe prostate cancer, all this still applies. The World Cancer Research Federation highlight findings of exercise and nutrition with preventing obesity reduces the risk of cancer. So that just means that if you are in an exercise and nutrition program just to prevent obesity, that's also going to help you with your cancer risk. Anti-inflammatory diet high in antioxidants is favored over the SAD diet, standard American diet, the processed foods, fast foods, sugar, alcohol. And that makes sense, right? Because antioxidant, we just learned that an antioxidant is going to get rid of those free radicals that cause destruction in our body. So with exercise more than 3 times a week to help maintain a normal weight. But even better is exercising 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity. So that's cardio. And cardio isn't necessarily going to increase your muscle mass, but it's still going to be important. Exercise is shown to increase natural killer cells. Our natural killer cells are part of our immune system, and we want our natural killer cells to be strong, right? So exercise increases natural killer cells. So increases in muscle mass decrease the inflammatory response and maintains blood sugar. And we want to maintain our blood sugar because high blood sugar also is inflammatory. 2 to 3 days of moderate strength training a week helps build muscle and decrease the inflammation, helps maintain blood sugar. And then exercise improves energy. A lot of times when we're fighting cancer or we don't even know why we're fatigued, exercise actually adds energy. It doesn't make you more fatigued, which sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. Our body was meant to move, so we need to move it. A decreased BMI less than 25 reduces the risk of cancer, greatly reduces the risk of cancer. So having a low BMI will reduce the risk of cancer. So again, exercise. Obesity is considered a chronic inflammatory state. If you have increased adipose tissue on your body, you are considered chronically inflamed. You're more apt to have chronic disease. And then when you have an inflammatory state, you're going to generate free radicals that cause DNA mutations and cellular damage, and that contributes to cancer. Obesity increases estrogen exposure risk, insulin levels, oxidative stress, inflammatory mediators. So there's plenty of reasons to decrease obesity in your body. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And even just by taking the steps, you're already halfway there. That's the hardest part, is just getting started. What else? Getting a good night's sleep. There's not enough credit given to having a good night's sleep. When you sleep, you heal. You're putting your body into a rest and digest and recover state instead of that fight and flight state. So it's good to get a good night's sleep so that we can repair and recover. Vitamin D, make sure that your vitamin D levels are normal. Don't just take vitamin D to take vitamin D. Make sure that your levels are normal first. Every time you get your labs done at the doctor, make sure that they're checking your vitamin D levels. Ask for it, because sometimes doctors don't do it, but make sure you ask for it. So this next one is not a popular one, but I want you to think about it for a second. For women, shaving armpits. If you think about shaving your armpits, it is an open wound, even just for a short moment of time. That open wound near your lymph and your breast tissue is an open wound, maybe multiple times a week. And I'm not saying to not shave your armpits by any means, but if you shave your armpits and you have that abrasion and an open wound, and then you put deodorant over it, and that deodorant has toxins, I want you to think about that. Shaving your armpits, I looked that up. I could not actually find any research that shows that to be true. But in my mind, it makes sense to me. So I don't want to be that person where 20 years down the road, they say, yeah, this is a thing. It's like, well, I kind of thought it was. It makes sense, but there was no research. What are your alternatives for that? You can get waxed instead, because that's still an open wound, but not for as long a period. You can do the waxing. There's other things you can do to get rid of the hair there. And then choose a deodorant or antiperspirant, deodorant really, that is not going to be toxic. And you can find that at ewg.org. I keep mentioning that website. It's a great website. And what else can you do? So the next one is also one that doesn't make me popular, but I'm okay with that. Wearing, again, this applies to women because we're talking about breast cancer, wearing tight bras. Now, if you think about our lymph system, if you were to do a lymph massage, it's a very light stroking of the skin because the lymph system is just right underneath your skin. And if the lymph system is right underneath the skin and it goes from our feet all the way up to our neck and then dumps back into our venous system to recirculate, then as it comes up the body, think about what happens. Strap something tight around our torso. What's going to happen with that circulation? And again, I don't want to mislead you on this. I did look for research on this, and there is no research, but there's a lot of people that suspect this, and there's just not enough research out there. There's actually not a lot of research on women in general. There is not research, however, there's sure a lot of talk around it. and people doing things even despite the fact there's no research. So I just want you to consider that. So I'm not saying don't shave your armpits and don't wear bras. I'm not about that at all. I'm just saying just consider what kind of bras you are purchasing and make sure that it's not quite so binding around your torso. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, what else can we do? We can stop smoking. If we smoke, we can stop smoking. We know that that's direct toxin right into our lungs, which then enters right into our bloodstream, which then enters every part of our body because the blood goes all throughout our body. So that's how smoking can interfere with the rest of your body, not just your lungs, but every part of your body. What else can we do? A high fiber diet with lots of antioxidants. It's recommended to take more than 30 grams of fiber a day. We know that high sugar increases calories, decreases nutrients, and contributes to weight gain. It also increases insulin, increases inflammation. Insulin stimulates cell proliferation in breast tissue and increases blood vessel generation, allowing tumor growth. So again, if you eat sugar, you have a tumor, even if you don't know you have a tumor, that could help that tumor to grow. And so that's sugar. So don't eat sugar. So we can eat cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are like kale, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. And it's recommended 1 to 2 servings a day of cruciferous vegetables. And that is very much cancer reducing. Seed oils are inflammatory. So seed oils are your corn, canola, cotton oil, safflower, soy, sunflower. Those seed oils have been known to cause inflammation, and inflammation can lead to cancer. Fish oils reduce the risk for cancer. So fish oils, or just straight fish, eating fish is probably the best for you. So fish oils, omega-3 fatty acids are found in walnuts, again, green leafy vegetables that also have antioxidants. Flaxseed, omega-3s are known for reducing the cancer risk. Monounsaturated fatty acids like olive oils, avocados, hazelnuts, cashews, they are known to suppress tumor growth and again reduce the risk of breast cancer. So olive oil is really good oil to have in your diet every single day. Polyphenols found in green tea, dark chocolate prevents cancer. So it's recommended 1 to 3 cups of green tea a day. And you can have more, there's no contraindication for that, but that's green tea. I'm not going to say that you should have more dark chocolate, darn it. And mushrooms such as maitake, shiitake, reishi, turkey tail, they're all anti-inflammatory and anti-tumor. Now I'm saying all this, it applies to all cancers, not just breast cancer. And then the last thing to consider is alcohol. So alcohol is a carcinogen, which means it's cancer causing, and it's a carcinogen due to its ethanol, acetaldehyde, and ethyl carbamate, and that disrupts normal metabolic pathways and increases risk of breast cancer. All cancer. It increases risk of all cancer. So then let's talk about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men, but not necessarily a high death rate compared to how many people are diagnosed with cancer. And so all of the same things apply. Same thing as breast cancers. We're going to eat fruits and vegetables. We're going to exercise. We're going to eliminate alcohol, sugary drinks, ultra-processed foods, no smoking. We're going to exercise more than 150 minutes a week or 2 to 3 days of resistance training. The greatest risk for prostate cancer is age and family history of 2 or more people. So the American Cancer Society recommends screening at the age of 50 or 45 if you have family history or risk. Think about that for a second. American Cancer Society recommends screening so I want you to think about this for a second. If you are screened at the age of 50 and you have been found to have cancer, that cancer didn't just happen when you turned 50. It's been happening for a while. It's just now detected. That's why you get checked regularly to see if anything has changed. So I'm saying that because it is so important to do what you can now so that you don't have that risk, especially if you have a family history. Do what you can now. Don't wait till you get diagnosed and then be surprised by it, which we all are. I mean, cancer is surprising. And there's plenty of people that are doing all the right things and are still getting diagnosed, which is heartbreaking for anybody. Anyways, I want you I want to try to empower you to do what you can, because you can do preventative work. And again, nothing is 100%. So let's see. Prostate cancer can result from prostatitis. Anything that ends in itis means inflammation. So prostatitis is not prostate cancer. It's an inflammation of the prostate, which can lead to cancer. Again, anything that ends in itis means inflammation. So prostatitis is inflammation of the prostate, and inflammation in our body can come from anywhere. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, NSAIDs, have been shown to decrease inflammation, but NSAIDs are not meant for long-term use. And really, it's not as beneficial as just having an anti-inflammatory diet. Eating an anti-inflammatory diet is better for you than taking NSAIDs. So NSAIDs, again, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, are there for a reason. I'm not against them, but there's a time and a place for them, and the place for them and the time for them is never chronic. There's never a reason you should be taking NSAIDs chronically, especially if you can just take them for a short time and then eat your anti-inflammatory diet. That's going to be so much better for you. Okay, so that's prostate cancer. So lung cancer. Once you have been diagnosed with lung cancer, then you have an average of a 5-year survival rate. That's not a very good prognosis. But again, if you have 5 years at that point, then start now before you get diagnosed. Everything is going to be preventative as best you can. With lung cancer, of course, you need to stop smoking. Lung cancer is also caused by asbestos exposure, secondhand smoke, tar, arsenic, chemicals, pesticides, radiation, air pollution, including from our fire seasons, diesel exhaust, paint. Anyone that's exposed to those airborne toxins should be wearing masks. If you have a profession where you need to be exposed to chemicals because there's not really any other option, you're the main sole provider of your household and you need to have that job, then wear a mask. And then go home and eat a healthy antioxidant diet and do whatever you can to keep yourself healthy. And then all the same things as above: exercise, sleep, nutrition. Make sure that you are doing everything you can to prevent that lung cancer. And then we have colon cancer. Colon cancer is caused by inflammation, caused for a lot of different reasons, but inflammatory bowel disease, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease increases the risk of colon cancer. Anything that ends in itis is inflammation and can be reversed or can be controlled. We can always control inflammation. And with colon cancer, if a polyp is detected and is cancerous, it has a life of 15 years. So from detection to cancer can be as long as 15 years. So make sure you're getting your colonoscopies if you have a family history especially. People that have first-degree relatives with colon cancer have 3 times the risk of developing colon cancer. So if you have a family history, make sure you're getting your colonoscopies. And routine screening can decrease that by 90%. That's huge. So do what you can. And then all the same things as above: same diet, exercise, no alcohol, more fiber, anti-inflammatory diet or Mediterranean diet, weight control. All that still applies. And if you heard my podcast number 2 on constipation is a huge factor for colon cancer, as much if not more than family history, because in our feces, we are trying to get rid of toxins from our body. It's toxic sludge. We're trying to get rid of it. If we have constipation, then it's just sitting there. It's sitting in our colon and it's destroying our colon. So we need to get rid of it. And in addition to that, if we have toxins in our feces that we're trying to get rid of, then those toxins can be reabsorbed. We don't want to do that because then it goes back into circulation and then it gets stored in our body and then we gain weight. So if you have constipation, you need to do everything you can to get rid of that constipation. And you can listen to my podcast on that as well. That's, I think, my second podcast. The last cancer I want to talk about is skin cancer. All the same things as above. You want to do your exercise, you want to do your diet, weight control, no alcohol, more fiber, all that still applies, even to skin. Sometimes we think, well, what does no alcohol have to, sometimes we think, what does having no alcohol have to do with our skin? And it's about the inflammation in our body and being able to detox the toxins and provide a way to become healthy again. So skin cancer is usually from sun exposure, like X-ray exposure. Skin cancer, it's gamma rays that make it through your cells, and when those rays pass through your cells, it could hit a DNA that is going to destroy the DNA and then can cause that uncontrolled cell division. People with fair skin need more protection from the sun because they don't have the pigment that protects them from the sun. So fair-skinned people are going to have more of a risk. However, I want you to weigh the benefits and risks of sunscreen. So if you are fair-skinned and you have a family history, then you need to protect your skin from the sun. You can wear clothing that is UV, or you could wear sunscreen that isn't toxic, and EWG.org has a list of safe sunscreens. If you think about sunscreen, our skin is the largest organ in our body, right? And then we're slathering it with these toxins. And then we're reapplying, and then we're sweating because we're in the sun, and then we're reapplying. And it's a horrible combination if that sunscreen happens to be toxic. I'm not saying don't wear sunscreen. I'm just saying if you're going to put something on your skin, make sure that it's healthy. People with more pigment on their skin have a better protection because that pigment, the melanin, actually covers the nucleus of the cell and protects it from those rays coming through. So the pigment protects our DNA from sun rays. However, when we don't get that DNA, we don't convert our vitamin D. So people with a darker pigment in their skin will have more of a risk of being low in vitamin D. So again, check your vitamin D levels and supplement if you have to. The best time to get sun during the day is before 10 and after 4. So the take-home message on all this is the World Cancer Research Federation states maintaining a healthy weight, being physically active, a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, beans, and eliminating ultra-processed foods and fast foods, pretty much the SAD diet, limit consumption of sugar and sweetened drinks, limit alcohol. They can all reduce the risk for cancer. So I don't want you to wait until you get it. You can work on it now. Decrease the prevalence of cancer because cancer is growing and growing, all types of cancer. And even if you don't have a family history, you need to do what you can to be cancer-free and just to be healthy in general. Okay, California, that was deep and heavy. I will see you guys next week. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something new. Health care and treatment should focus on being proactive and preventative, emphasizing the importance of addressing the root cause of a disease or illness. While the U.S. has an excellent trauma medicine system, helping patients when problems arise, our goals should be to prevent disease before they happen. That's why this podcast is so important to me. If you're needing further guidance or have questions on a particular matter, you can find my contact information in the show notes, where you can set up a 15-minute consultation. I also recommend you adding a functional nutritionist, a functional medicine practitioner, and a physical therapist to your healthcare team. This podcast reflects my personal opinions based on extensive research and education. It is not intended for medical diagnosis or treatment and should never replace the advice from your doctor or other healthcare professionals. To continue providing this free information, I rely on your support. Follow, subscribe, like, and share this podcast with your family and friends, or on social media. Don't forget to turn on your notifications to stay updated whenever I have a new episode released. Educating you and empowering you to take back your health is my ultimate goal. By gathering knowledge and implementing small but impactful changes, you can reclaim your well-being. This is a journey, not a quick fix. So be kind to yourself, and I'll be there to help. You got this.